every single person has a smartphone in their pocket. Right now, there are no buyback programs on the market. The only limiting factor for this sector globally is supply. There are another statistic that every year there are over 7 billion smartphones thrown away. I've heard many, even from our own investors, I've heard, don't think about profitability, think about only growth, expansion, and so on. I also think about that as well. But we need to grow a business that's financially sustainable and efficient in order to be a business. If it doesn't provide return to its shareholders and investors, it's not a business. It's a hobby for the founders to feel meaningful. I believe that within a 5-year period, we can get to a €100 million company easily. I've seen it where founders are very defensive of their idea. They think that, oh, nobody understands me, my investors don't understand me, they don't see where I'm coming from, they don't accept my big plans and my huge vision and stuff like that. But in my opinion, for a startup to be successful, these two point of views needs to be aligned.
This podcast episode is supported by EBRD. Support to small and medium-sized businesses is an important part of the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development's mandate. Activities to support small businesses include direct and indirect financing through partner institutions. The EBRD's Advice for Small Businesses team provides the knowledge, the network, and the skills to help emerging businesses innovate, thrive, and succeed.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Recursive podcast. Our next guest is an entrepreneur in the promising field of circular economy, advocating for the continuous use and reuse of materials. Mihail Dimitrov is the co-founder and CEO of Swipe.bg, a Bulgarian marketplace for buying and selling used smartphones. The company recently raised an investment to expand regionally and grow its market share. Mihail Dimitrov comes with a vast experience in e-commerce and business development. He previously worked for the world's largest classifieds platform OLX and Bulgaria's largest media group, Nova Broadcasting Group. Misha, welcome to the Recursive podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Before you entered the startup realm, you were a seasoned business manager, professional, working for the OLX, which became later on the world's largest classifieds platform. And you also worked in the media sector.
Yep. And also in the financial sector.
Yeah,
I have more financial background, investment background, rather than business development or media or e-commerce. I was more into finance and investment.
But you have so many qualities. It feels to me like you're a Swiss Army knife for any kind of industry.
I'm not sure if that's true, but to be honest, I've always been very active, very try to I've always tried to push for different projects, to initiate different things. So that was probably my strongest quality during my career.
Mm-hmm. What kind of experience led you then later on to found your own company? How did you enter the entrepreneur? It
wasn't an easy transition because when you get to a point where you're kind of successful employee or professional, you get all the benefits out of that. Security, high salary. But during my career, I was very lucky, I would say, to work alongside with very successful entrepreneurs in different sectors. Working in investments, I helped these entrepreneurs raise capital with their business development, with expanding outside into other markets, with exiting their companies, all this whole process helped me, work with them alongside and see how they think, how they operate, what challenges they face, and all that. So. This entrepreneurial appetite grew in me, and I was kind of ready at some point to kick it off myself.
Looking back to the moment where you founded the company, now you're in this working as an entrepreneur for how long? When did you start?
2.5 years.
2.5 years already. Yeah,
a little over 2 years. Yeah,
I wasn't sure about that, but
yeah.
Looking back now, do you still feel like you were ready back then?
No, I was, I was never ready, and I will never be ready. And I'm not sure if anyone is ever ready, because becoming first-time entrepreneur, you cannot expect what would happen to you. I mean, you might think that it's gonna be exciting, it's gonna be challenging, but first-time entrepreneur is like, riding a fast car, eyes blinded, and you cannot be ready for that. You have to be adaptive. You have to be fast decision maker. But I cannot say that I was ready, or I'm ready now, or I'll be ready ever.
Even when you started, you were surrounded by very experienced entrepreneurs who got very successful.
True that.
Do you remember a piece of advice that they gave you in the beginning that helped you along the way?
It was trust in yourself. When I started, and that was, I'm very plan-oriented person. I usually like to plan things ahead, have a structure in mind and stuff. So my idea was to bring in successful entrepreneurs to help me shortcut my mistakes and my path. And at the beginning, I was very, because that's my nature, I would say, I was very doubtful about things, how to do things right, what to do and stuff. And they were pushing me very hard. They were like, trust in yourself. There is no bad decision. You should be more courageous. And that was very helpful. That is still very helpful, because right now we have 23, I counted them, 23 shareholders on the cap table, and all of them are entrepreneurs, business angels and stuff. And any type of challenge we have, I kind of bring it up to them, and they give back feedback, and this helps me a lot.
Someone especially?
They're different type of profiles, and they're all very helpful, and they're at different age groups, successful in different contexts. Just to give an example, we just had a debate last week about how fast we should be about our international expansion, regional expansion. And some people said you should become a leader first in your market and then consider other markets. Others said, don't consider it so much, just push hard, go abroad, and things, pieces of the puzzle fall together. So it was different type of feedback. I usually get phone calls from, for example, Daneta Želeva, who is the CEO of Industrial Holding Bulgaria. She has this kind approach about, very kind, friendly conversation. I have other people like Olgi, for example, who pushes me all the time and gets on my nerves about pushing my boundaries. But, different people, but they're all helpful, very helpful.
I remember in the beginning, it was hard for me to assert my course as an entrepreneur. It felt to me like it takes some time to create certain inertia. And in the beginning, everyone is very generous with their advice, but it could be also confusing because you're not stable yet. You're not on your path yet. And then, especially in a sector like yours or in media like mine, a lot of people have a certain confidence that they understand what is it about, although they don't do it full time. It's not like we're building space rockets, If sometimes I wish I were building space rockets so that less people can give me advice. But in the beginning, everyone would have an advice also for the business models and what we can test. And
same thing.
The problem is that you have a huge scarcity as an entrepreneur when it comes to time, and you can try only so many things. So your time is very limited, and you have to be very strategic and very focused on what you're doing.
Yep.
How was it for you to having 23 shareholders, most of them entrepreneurs, and I can imagine also a lot of friends who were very happy to give you advice, and they meant it well. How did you manage to navigate your own path, to find your own path? Wasn't it confusing in the beginning?
Yes, it was not so much confusing, but I was kind of fighting with myself to, find the right answers out of their advices. But how I managed to navigate that, because of my background and most of my career, I used to be on their side, as investor, as advisor, as business consultant. So I kind of know what they're looking for, and they're looking for transparency. They're looking for reporting. They're looking to know what's going on in the company. Even every detail at a point, to estimate the risks, to be involved, to be included. And I've always been very proactive in terms of reporting to them. I just recently even started sending those letters to the shareholders, because they're told so many already, with not just explaining KPIs and numbers, but also explaining my way of thinking and explaining my plans from why I think this is the right decision, what could be the risks, what could be the opportunities, how I'm going to mitigate the risk, how I'm going to, find the right people to do this, what resources I need, and so on. So by doing this, they kind of build up this confidence in myself, because before that, they didn't know me much. And, every successful person thinks that they know it all, because they're successful, right? They have this experience of, making mistakes, doing the right thing, and at some point.
Not.
Yeah. I don't think that success is associated with mistakes all the time. Anyway, but at some point, by reporting to them, explaining my way of thinking, they build up this confidence that I know what I'm doing, and they're like, and it was very, probably within 3 months, they stopped interrupting our operations by constant advising and stuff. They were like, okay, these people know what they're doing. It might not be the right thing, but they have a plan. They have, logic behind it. They have research behind it. So let them be. Let's see what's going on. And this was very important as well, because when we make mistakes, they're fine with that. They're absolutely fine with that, because they knew where we were coming from. And they were not like, oh, you were stupid, you made a mistake, and we told you not to do that. But by explaining in advance our plans, our logic behind it, and how we're going to do it, when we don't do it, they know the history behind it, and they're fine with it most of the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how do you deal with your own mistakes along the way?
My own mistakes.
Learning how to be, in a way, kind to yourself as an entrepreneur is very important.
Yep.
Especially because you're also an example to your team.
Yep.
And in a startup where decisions need to be made fast, and where, of course, a certain level of innovation and creativity is necessary in order to be successful.
Yep.
There is huge room for success, because you're constantly experimenting new things on the market that maybe no one has done before. You cannot just take an algorithm and say, okay, and this is how you do a platform for pre-used smartphones. You're actually finding your own way. How do you deal with your own mistakes?
In finance and investments, there is that term, risk versus return ratio.
Okay.
And when the chances of return are higher than the chances of risk, you make the decision regardless of the outcome, because there are better chances of being successful than making a mistake. And usually when I have to make a decision, I always try to make the decision in this context. Let's say I have two options in front of me, and I'm like, okay, this or that, which one is more risky, which one can have better return. And also, if I spend more time in overanalyzing, overthinking, or trying to bring up another option to the table, wasting this time, would that increase the general risk or not? And I'll give you an example. Just right now we have this partnership with Zora, and they told us you have the whole network and you can do whatever. I mean, we trust you. The model is great, and you can expand as fast as you want. Because in that context, in that particular partnership, we have like shop in shop. So it's up to us to find employees, build up this section in their shop, market it, and all that. So finding the right people, spending more time on interviewing, HR, recruiting, and stuff, or being fast and expand as quickly as possible, which is the right thing. In my opinion, is right now having this opportunity for fast expansion on the back of strong partner, I can't spend so much time on recruiting. Usually my recruiting in this context is, jobs.bg ad, they apply, next day we hire. And within 1 week, we expanded to 6 cities will be next week, but 5 cities for 1 week. 1 week, 5 cities. And for 1 week, we had to hire people, we had to train these people, and we had to put them in place. What are the risks? They might inspect the smartphones the wrong way, this might incur financial loss for us, right? This is the risk. But what are the opportunities? Fast expansion, brand awareness, revenue growth, all that. So this is something that, going back to the mistakes, there always be mistakes. You have to realize that, okay, if I make a mistake, is it going to be fatal? Is this going to ruin the business? Yes, consider it more. No, be quick. This is my way of thinking.
I can also imagine you sitting in the evening and actually calculating the risk.
No, it's more like a habit I do. Yeah.
This is great. So before, maybe for part of our audience, which is actually regional, may not be clear what you're doing, maybe we can clarify a bit the business model. So you buy and sell certified refurbished phones.
Yep. We buy secondhand phones.
Yeah.
We refurbish them, certify them, and we sell them.
Okay, so that's your job. So building trust with your customers is also crucial for your business.
True that.
And it is also one of the reasons why your business exists, because before that we would buy
brand new or pre-used phones in some shady platforms. Yep,
and you never have the security and the guarantee that the seller on the other side is actually correct and is going to give you exactly what they described. Okay. Can you share maybe how you established the process and what obstacles did you face along the way in presenting this kind of business model to Bulgarian audiences, but also soon to regional audiences, target groups?
There, in my opinion, there are two ways of building trust. One is short-term, very short-term, and this is done mainly through marketing. People need to kind of first learn about your brand and what you do. This is kind of educating the audience, and also perceive your brand in a way that's trustworthy. I don't know, probably colors, how you communicate it, your target audience, and all that. This is simply marketing, or mostly marketing. But midterm and long term, what matters in terms of building trust is the quality of your service and your products. You might attract a client with marketing, but if this client is not happy with your services and products, they will never come back. And even worse, they will spread the word around that you have shitty services and products. So basically what we do and what our focus is, and I'll be honest with you, we grew a lot last year, but if we didn't put so much effort into the quality of our services and products, we could have grown even more by simply reselling products.
How much did you grow last year?
We grew from €500,000 in 2022 to €2.5 million in 2023. So it was a rapid growth, but demand was much higher than what we could have provided to the market. But we tried with different suppliers just to see if we can resell. The quality was low and so on. So we put a lot of effort into building the right model of refurbishment, the right model of collecting the devices, the right model of packaging the devices, so that clients are happy with us. And right now, I believe 2 years after we launched, we have very high customer satisfaction. We see that clients come back to us, they refer other clients to us, and they're very happy with our service. Our return rates are similar to brand new phones, which is amazing for refurbished and second-hand electronic products. And this is how we build trust. Yes, this is probably a long game. This is going to be very difficult, but you cannot compromise the quality of your product services with good marketing. Mm-hmm. It's just a waste of money, in my opinion, being a finance guy. Yeah, you invest in marketing, you waste it, you're happy with short-term results, and after that, you have to put even more money next phase to attract other clients who won't be happy with your product services as well. So it's just not investment, this is just waste.
I'm just thinking that it's actually an interesting combination to have a finance guy who is usually very careful with cost. And, for many business people, marketing is considered cost, not so much an investment. I'm just imagining how you negotiate in yourself, your marketing budgets.
Yes.
For your marketing manager, it's probably very hard to argue.
Yeah, it is hard, and this is probably one of my drawbacks because I really want to the business to be financially efficient or growing in a way to be financially efficient.
Yeah.
And that's hard because in the startup world, growth is excitement. Growth is what we should only think of. I've heard many even from our own investors. I've heard, don't think about profitability, think about only growth, expansion, and so on. I also think about that as well. But we need to grow a business that's financially sustainable and efficient in order to be a business. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't provide return to its shareholders and investors, it's not a business. It's a hobby for the founders to feel meaningful, in my opinion.
You're harsh. Okay. Crashing the whole startup industry. Although I think, the startup and VC industry is now soaring up, especially in the times of recession, where we actually start looking a bit more into the profitability and rentability of a business.
Yeah. No, look, growth is important, especially in a sector like ours and many other sectors like are very hot right now, AI and so on. And you need to, if there's an opportunity on the market, you have to grasp this opportunity. You cannot be stingy about that. Mm-hmm. But it's a matter how you structure your company in order not to simply grow and when to get to a point that you need to turn profitable because of different market circumstances or different challenges, that you go bankrupt because your business model cannot support profitability. You have to grow to a point where you turn profitable, or you have to grow to a point where you say, all right, market conditions are not favorable right now. I have to, tighten the belts and turn profitable in order for this company to sustain and to continue, as a business.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking that probably the rate of your growth could be somehow also synchronized with the growth rate of the industry as a whole. So a couple of weeks ago, we had Boriana Ozunova here on the podcast, who is building this platform for pre-used fashion or pre-loved fashion. And I was curious, is the trend for pre-used phones also growing? Is the market growing right now? Or what are the trends of the market currently? What do you see globally?
Globally, refurbished right now is around 10% globally, around 10% of the whole smartphone market. Okay. But it grows 2 times faster than the brand new smartphone market. Wow. There are strong, regions or markets with very high penetration, like United States, like Singapore, like France, with around 20% penetration. Every fifth phone on those markets is refurbished. And markets at earlier stage of development, like Eastern Europe, for example, they have much faster growth rate, but the challenges are, in order for this, if we look at developed markets, for example, United States, this whole market is like a vertical of different players that assist the market to thrive and develop. And what I mean about vertical for different players, in the United States, they're smartphone-backed securities, going back to finance and investments. Investment banks have securities backed by smartphones.
Okay.
And this provides funding to players to acquire phones. There are also players that are only in the refurbishment sector. They support the sector, other players, to refurbish the phones. There are players who only resell. There are players who only work with the brands, Apple, Samsung, and are their exclusive buyback partners. In underdeveloped markets, there are no such players.
The ecosystem is not there yet.
Yeah, it's not there yet. And in order for this market to grow and to develop, players either have to develop the whole vertical, and this is what we face as challenges. I mean, we're not simply reseller. We take care of the refurbishment. I was even able to kind of structure a very interesting fintech instrument in order for us to have access to working capital. I was able to, we were able as a team to push two of the banks in Bulgaria to have instruments so that we have working capital. We right now we are going to work with one of the fintech players who is building a unique instrument for peer-to-peer financing for end users to have the opportunity to finance companies like us, so that we have working capital to support the growth of the sector, and so on and so on. So it's a long path with huge opportunities, with great growth potential, but with many challenges, because it's very early age of development.
What about the demand side? How is the demand side growing? And I'm also curious, which are the motives for people to actually buy refurbished phones instead of new phones? Because I guess it's not only money often.
No, but if I told you that you could buy absolutely the same product, absolutely, with the warranty, with the options for extended payment, with good service, with absolutely the same product, with 30%, but 30% cheaper, would you buy it?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, and this is the.
Although I have to say that unpacking, my phone for the first time, it gives me a certain feeling. But what is always disappointing to me is that after 2 weeks, I don't feel that anymore.
Yeah, true that. But probably you have different incentives, but the mass user would do it, and they do it with peer-to-peer platforms like OLX, and the market is there, demand is high, especially even if we consider at the beginning to grab from this market that is there, because there, it's estimated just in Bulgaria, it's 100 million euro market just on OLX and Facebook groups. But what if we give these users that buy secondhand the warranty, the money back guarantee, and all these perks, and we can grab from this market, and we grab from this market. But there are also other advantages, as you mentioned, the green initiative, or being conscious about the climate change is also very important, and of course it's a small step, but if we're somehow, conscious about it, intelligent about it, any step is important. And this is also one important step.
And is this a relevant factor for users in Bulgaria? I guess at some point you have done some market research, you have understood the behavior of your customers at least. Are environmental considerations relevant for them?
We have customers who are from the entrepreneur ecosystem that can afford any type of phone or gadget. They buy from us because they're driven by the green incentives or just to support the startup ecosystem. But the mass user is driven by price. Yeah. Unfortunately, this is the mass user, and of course there are different type of users. We are very much into the promoting circular economy, and this is not some kind of greenwashing we do. I mean, all our company, our employers, we're very much into that. But we also need to consider what the mass user is looking for, and this is what they're looking for.
Do you have an idea of, let's say, how much carbon emissions we can actually save by buying a refurbished phone? Or I guess when we talk about environmental considerations, we would look at all the metals which are actually used for creating an iPhone or an Android or whatever. And we know that they're in short supply. We know also about the disturbances in the supply chain at this point. So how much are we going to save if we buy like a refurbished phone? Have you calculated this at some point? Or
according to research, and this research from big companies like Apple or Samsung, for the manufacturing of one smartphone, which weighs 150 grams on average, there are 85 kilograms of carbon emissions that are released, and 85% of these carbon emissions are released during the manufacturing of the phone.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah. So it is. We can do a lot by switching to refurbished, but not just electronics. We can do a lot about thinking circular economy. Anything circular economy, like clothes, for example. Why not? Going back to your previous guest, what are the benefits of buying brand new? I think secondhand clothes are good enough already. There are enough players that can provide quality, that can provide, cleaning the clothes and stuff. And this sector is growing big as well.
I think having also more platforms which are allowing you to resell your products.
True that.
You would also start thinking a bit more about, or a bit more as an investor. So you're buying something and you're going to buy something of value, which is usually more expensive, but you would be also able to sell it for a higher price because it would maintain the value. And I can imagine that with phones it could be the same.
True that.
I wouldn't be, even if I buy new, I wouldn't be looking for the cheap, shitty product because that's what I can afford, but I would actually buy something that would actually keep the value over time, and I would be able to resell it for a higher price.
Absolutely.
I think it's changing the behavior of how we actually think as users, as consumers.
And circular is not only, as you mentioned, is not only on the side of let's drop brand new and let's buy only secondhand. Circular is also about let's buy brand new, but let's resell our secondhand. Let's not throw it away. Let's not keep it in our drawer in terms of smartphones and in 5-year time throw it away. So it's more like a two-way behavior for those that are afraid to switch to refurbished as a products, and to those that are not conscious about their secondhand possessings.
And are the big brands, so in this case the smartphone producers, supporting this kind of trend? Yes.
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah.
What about the telcos?
Telcos as well, but like for example, telcos in our region, this buyback programs and are quite new sector for them, and they're not familiar with that. They're very careful to start with. but they see the trends. They're pushing into that direction. But again, looking at more developed markets, Verizon, they have buyback programs and they sell refurbished devices. AT&T, they have buyback programs and they sell refurbished devices. Deutsche Telekom, same thing. So they're going to get to a point where they're not only won't be only having buyback programs, but they'll also be selling refurbished devices. And this is, I think, quite natural step to them. But in order to get there, again, the whole ecosystem or the whole vertical of different players supporting the sector needs to be there, because these telecoms not only need to, find a supplier to buy the phones, they need to have the right documentation, they need to have the right packaging, they need to have the right after sale service, because they don't want to deal with that. They want to be simply resellers.
See, okay. Tell me about the expansion, and tell me, in what way can you use what you have learned now here on the Bulgarian market to grow on the regional one? So I think you're headed to Romania. You're headed to which are the markets that
we're heading. We're heading to the close by markets, and that's because they're attractive markets, big enough, and also underdeveloped, because the sector is still underdeveloped there, even though there are some players in these markets. But that attracts a lot. That's very attractive to us. But also the logistics part. Still, we work with, we shouldn't forget that we work with physical products, and these physical products needs to be moved from one place to another. So this is going to be, the low-hanging fruit for us to move the goods to closing markets. But we're for this year we have a very ambitious target to launch platforms in Greece, Romania, Hungary. And we're researching Serbia as well. We're researching Serbia because they're outside of the European Union zone, and there are legal implications and tax implications that we need to consider.
Are you gonna keep the brand? Does it make sense for you?
The brand is very interesting because we wanted to have a brand in Bulgaria that is kind of associated with smartphones somehow, but it's difficult to keep it as it is because it's a generic word. Yeah. And as a generic word, it's very difficult to have the available domains and stuff like that. We are considering slightly modifying it in order to, on one hand, keeping it, on the other hand, have the opportunity to expand internationally with just one brand rather than launching different brands in different markets. Yeah,
Yeah, that's always a consideration. Interesting. Okay. And do you think that you would be able to apply your learnings from the Bulgarian market into the new ones? Because I can also imagine that they have their own users there, have their own special behavior. They're used to buying their phones from different sellers.
True. Absolutely true. But again, we need to be aware that the smartphone market is a mass market. I mean, every single person has a smartphone in their pocket. And it's not
at least one.
At least one, true that. At least one.
I think at some point there was like statistics, I'm not sure if it's true, that globally there are more smartphones than, or people possess more smartphones per capita than toothbrushes, which is very worrying.
Yeah. There are another statistic that every year there are over 7 billion smartphones thrown away. So it's like similar to the whole population. So it's like, it cannot be true that every single person, like even small babies, have smartphones and they renew them on a annual basis. But which means that's probably But anyway, so basically, what we're going to do to start with, our game initially won't be fighting competitors or fighting other players and stuff. Okay. Our game to start with will be to tackle those players or those clients that are used to buying secondhand, but secondhand without the certification, without the warranty, without the all that, and also our goal would be to provide good quality products and good quality service in order to kind of build up this initial mass of users that are going to try our products first.
Early adopters.
Yeah, or kind of early adopters. But we are not, we're not a niche type of company that is going to tackle a particular niche with 2-3 other players and with a handful of clients. So it's a matter of applying our marketing, applying our pricing, applying our methodology, and to be honest, it might seem kind of simplistic, our model, but behind our model, it's very complicated structure of digital tools and software tools. And these tools help us to monitor every step of the process and be, this is an ongoing process, but to be efficient in every step of the process. For example, pricing. We're at the final stage of building dynamic pricing tools, which is always monitoring the supply and demand and finding the right balance of pricing between sellers and buyers. Wow. This is also very important because we have to be competitive on the markets and also mitigate risks. On the other hand, the refurbishment, how fast we refurbish the phones, how we refurbish the phones. You might not be aware, I saw you use Apple products, but in order to refurbish Apple phones, I cannot do it myself as of now because it's a closed ecosystem and only Apple certified repair shops can do it in order not the Apple to show in their system menu that the parts of refurbishment are not genuine, even though they might be genuine. So we're working on becoming a Apple certified repair shop. So it's a ongoing process that every piece of the puzzle is very important for us to tackle these markets, and it's not just pushing the right marketing strategy or visiting the right events there or being more attractive than the competitors. It's like having the whole operational warehouse, let's put it this way, in the back that can support this business for that, so that the users can buy a phone from us and say, oh, I'm happy with this, I'm gonna buy again, I'm gonna tell my friends that they should buy as well.
So in order to meet the demand that you're expecting anyway, because this is what happened in Bulgaria,
true that.
Are now preparing for the whole machine behind it to be ready so that you can actually sustain this growth. Okay, that's interesting.
Yep.
There are a lot of pieces in the puzzle.
A lot. In the business, I say it's like 4 or 5 businesses within one. And every single one is very, very difficult by itself. For example, the refurbishment, how we source parts, where we source parts from. They're providers or suppliers from all around the world. How we stock the parts, what's our warehouse on parts, because there are hundreds different brands and models of smartphones. If I have to change the back of your smartphone, it's not easy. It's about the color, it's about the model, it's about many other specifics. Also the technicians, are they certified? No. How I find them? It's more like they're different type of people, but it's like software engineers. They're scarce on the market. They're not that easy to find. How I train them, how I develop them, how I have a program of developing technicians, how I monitor their work, how I motivate them in order to refurbish fast, how I track the returns, how I monitor why this phone was returned or not. This is simply refurbishment. What about collection, partnerships? How I expand, how I inspect the phones technically so that I mitigate the risk when I collect them. Reselling, offline, online.
It feels to me that you might have to raise capital soon again.
Oh yeah. I mean, this is vital if we are looking to, if we want to grab from this market and become the leaders, and if we consider the experience of other players, big players. our fundraising is like a crumb.
I was just about to say.
Yeah, it's like a crumb. But it's important for us to hit the milestones that we plan in order to show that we could be a significant player on the market. And when I say significant, I mean like hundreds of millions euro and hundreds of employees. And this is it.
You're naturally leading me actually to my next question, that an important factor for the growth is actually the team and how you're growing it. How many people are you at this point?
26.
26?
Right now. Yep.
How much do you have to grow in order to complete your expansion plans for the next year?
For the next year?
Yeah.
Around 80 people.
80?
80, yeah. Around 80 people.
I think this is also one of the challenges for a first-time entrepreneur, at least it was for me, of how do you keep the culture, because I think it's much easier to sustain a certain mindset in the team when you're 5 people.
Yep.
And then it's totally different when you have, I don't know, like 26 and then when you have 80. And how do you prepare for that yourself?
We're at that point right now.
Yeah.
Because last year we didn't expect to grow so fast, and for 5 months we grew by 16 times or something like that, and really we were joking with my partner that all the people we hired last year were like, "Can you start tomorrow?" "Yes." "You're hired." "No." "Next one." Yeah, and it's funny, and probably crazy. HR professionals, are going crazy right now. But we really had to grasp all the opportunities, and the growth came really unexpectedly, and with that it opened up many inefficiencies that we had. And we had to focus on, stitching the whole model and modifying the whole model, so we continue providing good quality of products and services. And to be honest, we didn't pay any attention to the team, which is really bad for us. But we were lucky. And I'll give you an example again. Now in February will be our first team building. And there are people, and because I told you the team is split up in multiple towns. The team don't know each other.
Wow.
Most of the people have never seen each other in person during this period, and that's poor, and that for sure that's a mistake. But we were so much into pushing hard and trying to grasp opportunities and grow into. And all that, and we didn't pay much attention to the team. And right now we see that we're getting to a stage where we were lucky with the employees, with the team, because they were very responsible people. And probably when we were hiring, the main trait we were looking for, if our team can take responsibility of their actions. Would they be, I make a mistake, I'm sorry, I will try to fix it next time or learn more, or I made a mistake, whatever. My boss didn't say it because they're busy doing whatever. We don't have people like that. But right now we're at a point very much into structuring the team, having middle management, hiring higher management. Just right after this interview, I'm going to make an offer for COO, operations officer. So this is very important right now, and somehow we managed, knock on wood, we didn't break, but we managed to sustain it as pure muscle. But from now on, we need structure. We need instruments to motivate the team. We need instruments to hire the team, and so on. So this is what we're doing right now.
It's an exciting job.
Yep.
Okay. How big are your ambitions? How far do you see Swipe, or whatever you rebranded into, growing?
Every single person has a smartphone in their pocket. Right now, there are no buyback programs on the market. The only limiting factor for this sector globally is supply.
Okay.
Is supply.
But there is 7.5 billion phones which are thrown away.
Exactly, right? Yeah. Exactly. there are buyback programs on developed markets and not so many on in underdeveloped markets, and users are not educated that they can trade in their phones. And again, I'll make a parallel. Imagine that if we all have to drive brand new cars, and when we get tired of it or they break down, whatever, and we just crash them someplace or take them to a whatever, and we have to buy a brand new.
No,
So
bring them to Bulgaria.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, true that. But that's another story. But my point is that we have these instruments to trade in our old cars, to buy a certified old car, and so on. And this is what is happening with devices, with smartphones and other devices as well. And when this happens, and we're working very hard for that, and if we consider the penetration of refurbished in, let's say, France, which is 20%, this is every fifth phone on the market refurbished. Just in Bulgaria, the market of brand new smartphones annually is 1.5 million devices annually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's a lot. So if we take these benchmarks or these factors into consideration, just the refurbished market in Central and Eastern Europe could be in like the billions, 20 plus billion euro annually.
I guess it's a question of margins because, your type of business is actually requiring a lot of capital, and
True that. True. It's a question of margins, and it's a question of execution, operational excellence.
Exactly.
Let's put it this way. Also innovation, I would say as well, because there are many players that create technology that can support this sector and minimize risks. It's a matter also of again, technology automation, how to you automate the whole process in order to minimize the human factor, human mistakes and stuff like that. So there it's a matter of trust, it's a matter of awareness.
But how big are your ambitions?
My ambitions, I believe that within 5-year period we can get to 100 million euro company easily. And at that point, it's a matter of balance, and it's a matter of what our shareholders are looking for. Let's put it this way. I mean, we're in the game like many startups, and this is a huge mistake of founders. Going back to in my opinion, founders think that they're the sole owners of their companies. They bring in investors, they bring in VCs, they bring in partners, and they continue behaving that they're sole owners of their companies, and they continue acting as if some founders, not
maybe
generally.
in the early stages after that.
Yeah. And this I've seen it in my in my experience that this sometimes breaks the startup because the founders consider investors as on the other shore. My perspective is that my job is to grow the company to a point where the company has two options: to go public or to exit. This is what my investors are looking for. If we go public, that's great, and I think this is a huge opportunity there because this could be a huge company. In the other opportunities to exit the company, to give it into the hands of bigger.
For most of the startup founders. So I wouldn't say that I have a bit more empathy. I think for an early stage founder, it's a bit difficult to find the right communication mode with their investors because we kind of don't feel like they're on our side. Yeah, sometimes because they're the ones who are giving the money. We don't see them so much as partners, but someone that we need to report to. And this complicated relationship between a founder and investor, it's not only because the founders behave in a certain way, but also because the investors behave in a certain way. And I think it's only now that we start to understand what a healthy relationship between a founder and an investor could look like. It's also very different if you have a business angel and a VC fund. The relationship again is different. It is. Because the alignment is different. I think it makes total difference if you're actually investing with your own money.
True, absolutely.
And if you're operating the money for someone else.
Yeah.
So there is also a lot of learning that we still need to do, in my opinion, in Eastern Europe when it comes to venture capital and so on and so forth. LPs, how they invest their money. So it's a part of a whole system, but I wouldn't say, as here I'm just trying to defend founders. Who,
no problem. Absolutely.
They don't think this way. I think they're pretty lost in their way.
Yeah. Could be that.
They don't know how to establish this relationship.
Could be that.
Yeah.
It's just, I've seen it where founders are very defensive of their idea. They think that, nobody understands me. My investors don't understand me. They don't see where I'm coming from. They don't accept my, big plans and my huge vision and stuff like that. But in my opinion, for a startup to be successful, these two point of views needs to be aligned. They have to be aligned and this is how we raised our second phase of financing. And, the majority of our second round just last year came from current shareholders.
Alignment is definitely a big topic in our world. I see that, and misalignment can happen, and quite often actually happens at the later stages when you are closer to the exit, when you are closer to an IPO. And I mean, we also see that founders are being exchanged for more mature managers because also the company needs a different type of manager. So I think in the beginning, you do need this kind of people who are, how to put it, maybe feeling strength on acting on their own because they need to deal with a lot of adversity.
True that, absolutely.
If they were agreeable people, if they were people who are satisfiers and pleasers, they wouldn't stand a chance to found a company.
Agree.
You need to have this mindset in the beginning. And you need to remember, I don't know how many people you pitched your idea to. I can imagine a lot of them said, this is never going to work, or you're not the right person for that. So you do need this kind of quality to think that I know what I'm doing and I'm going to do it. And you have to be slightly delusional.
No, that's true. That's absolutely true. It's just that, my way of communicating with our investors is that I'm very kind of open with them, and I go have lunch with them. I try to understand their point of view. They have different experience that they can share with us. They sometimes we discuss things very extensively, and we come up with ideas that are very beneficial, not just to the business, but to their business as well. Why not?
Also to you personally, I think that because they've been in your shoes, they dealt with certain.
And also I've seen founders that send out a monthly report. That's it. They comply with their requirements on their SPAs. And when they have a shareholding meeting, and when they face this pressure and push from the investors, which is great and healthy in my opinion, they get very defensive, and they get very they don't understand it, and at some point this relationship starts to break a bit. And in my opinion, company and relationship with investors, with business angels, is like a family. We're on the same boat. We're in the same company. We have to understand each other. We have to help each other. We have to, try to satisfy each other. Why not? This is not to the harm of the company, of course, but this could be to the benefit of the company because you leverage on your relationships with your investors.
At the same time, coming back to the scarcity of time, sometimes I'm thinking, before working on monthly reports, go fetch a customer.
True.
In your
absolutely.
case,
Absolutely. I agree.
If I have to focus on what am I going to do, am I going to spend the next 8 hours in, preparing a report to my investors, or am I going to write 3 proposals? I'm going to write 3 proposals. That's...
all the partners...
and I'm thinking right now that having so many shareholders, that's a lot of admin. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is so hard to manage. Yeah. And I still admire the way that you have managed to establish a relationship to your investors and how you think. And I think, having experience in finance, being already on the other side gives you a certain edge when it comes to that.
Sure.
And I think that's actually a knowledge that you can even more readily share with other founders, because I think some of them are a bit scared of their investors, and they're...
True. But our investors, finish up this topic because it got very extensive. Our investors is my free team.
Mm-hmm.
It's a highly qualified, experienced people, which I don't pay to. They pay me.
Mm-hmm.
They give me their money and they pay me. So I have to use their experience. I have to use their contacts. I have to use what they have in their heads.
Mm-hmm.
And using that is not simply based on, their pragmatic, drive that they have invested into this company, and this company is successful, I will be successful. No, we're human beings. This is about relationships. And all the working capital that we have managed to close with banks was because of one of investors, very small investor with, 5,000 euro investment in our company. And she has spent so much time and so much effort and has helped us a lot that if she was an external consultant, we
couldn't have afforded her.
Exactly. And all this. And this is, again, it takes time, it takes effort, but again, this is your free team.
Mm-hmm. I love this perspective.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. And because we're, we have talked so long, and we need to wrap it up slowly. I wanted to say thank you in any case for sharing this perspective in such an honest way. This is what I'm actually looking for here in the podcast. I don't want you to quote me all the business books that you have read. I want you to speak from experience, and you've done exactly that. Exactly.
Yep.
Sharing, the pains and the learnings that you've had as an entrepreneur. And it's, I have a great admiration that you have achieved so far, especially being a first-time entrepreneur. I'm sure that your experience so far has helped you a lot, but it's still, it's easier to fail, and it's not so horrible to fail when you're doing it for the first time. Actually, most of the entrepreneurs succeed only after, second or third time. But so far, you've been doing a great job, and I'm very excited of what's coming ahead.
Yeah,
especially because I'm one of those people who try to be environmentally a bit more conscious. And I was thinking, buying a new phone, does it actually make sense? I mean, I could have like a nice trip somewhere around the world.
There you go.
Instead of buying every 2 years actually a phone. And what is more important to me? I don't know, an experience or the gadget that I'm happy about for the first 2 weeks when I open it, and then it's just
same thing.
Same.
Yeah. True that.
That's how I feel. So thank you for solving this issue for us. I'm sure that it's very hard, especially now that I've understood how many stakeholders in the ecosystem are actually missing, and you need to play in order to have this model. Possible.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I always imagined that here are phones, and then we put them on the platform, and we sell them. But it's
they all think that. But it's no. I mean, it's a very, very complicated model. Very complicated model.
Misho, I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Also for expanding to the new markets. Let us know if you need some help, and
I will.
As much as we can, happy to share the message. I was thinking you should maybe develop some kind of recommendation mechanism.
Yeah, we're working on that.
Because
we're working on that referral program.
Many people would think like me. So
yeah. We're doing that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you are just as passionate about innovation as we are, hit subscribe for the Recursive podcast on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. We're everywhere. This podcast episode is supported by EBRD. Support to small and medium-sized businesses is an important part of the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development's mandate. Activities to support small businesses include direct and indirect financing through partner institutions. The EBRD's Advice for Small Businesses team provides the knowledge, the network, and the skills to help emerging businesses innovate, thrive, and succeed.